I remember after my father's funeral, on people's statuses, people were just like, you're so strong, you're so strong, you're so strong. And that what rocked me the hardest, because I'm like, I don't want to be strong right now. I don't feel strong right now. And I have no reason to be strong right now.
I had the denial more than the acceptance stage, because it was, is my mom fine? Like, is she really gone? You know, the dreams, it's like, am I deja vuing? Like,
Sekunjalo, kuphinde kwaba njalo, ke. I hope this finds you well and in good spirits. Welcome to more conversations with myself, Mpho. I am not alone. I'm with my lovely co-host,
Omphile Keisha.
and it's been a lovely week coming up to this conversation. Thank you so much for the subscriptions. We've seen them. Thank you for the views, the comments. Don't forget to like, to comment, and to subscribe. So Miguel, hi.
Hi, how are you, girl?
I'm alive.
Phinde kwaba njalo, sekunjalo.
How?
Wamudi.
Hey, I guess done too. So from last week's conversation, we were talking about loss, right? And I thought it would be befitting to follow up that conversation with like how to navigate grief and how we've dealt with grief, because obviously, grief comes subsequently right after loss. Like you handle loss either of a person or a loved one, but in this context, it's a loss of a loved one. So now I want us to delve into, like, have a conversation about what grief has looked like for us, what it looks like right now for us, and what have you done, and like, have you been aware of, the states of your grief and the cycle of your grief and how you have went about it, right? And then last week's conversation, we were talking about loss, right?
Yeah.
And in your case, you mentioned the passing of your grandmother, which was the closest loss, right? And in my case, it was with my mom, dad, and grandmother. So I'm guessing those are the three subjects that we will be touching on today, right? So my first question to you, but firstly, let's start by building context of, the definition of what grief is, right? I don't have like an Oxford definition. I just have like a definition, I think, at the top of my head, right? I would say that grief is a response to loss.
Yeah.
Right? Yes. And then it involves maybe either behavioral changes or physical changes, mental changes, or emotional changes. Seeing that we're different people. Sometimes someone may grieve a person mentally, sometimes physically, sometimes emotionally. So now I'm trying to understand, and with you personally, like, how have you dealt with grief? Like, did it hit you physically or mentally, particularly like after the passing of your grandmother?
I think when it comes to grief, I've had the two stages of grief, which has been the denial stage and the acceptance stage. So with dealing with the loss of my grandmother, I think I faced the denial stage more than the acceptance stage. So it will always be that thing of, no, she's still alive, but is she really alive? I'd have her coming through dreams. Like immediately after she passed on, I think a week later, it would be all those good dreams. It was never a bad dreams, but it would be her saying that she's still alive. So the acceptance stage was a very tricky one, where I felt like I'm living in the dream world a lot than the real life. So with accepting the grief stage, it has been more towards the denial rather than the acceptance stage.
You know what's crazy? Because for me, it's the total opposite. I like immediately after, and I'm mostly gonna refer to my dad's passing because I feel like that's the passing that I was mostly aware of. And then when my grandmother passed on after my dad, I was just on autopilot. I was just moving. I didn't know what was going on. So with my dad, when he passed on, the first like image of what grief is for me, the first stage of grief I went to was acceptance. Like instantly, my dad passed on a Sunday, and on that Monday, I was already, okay, my dad passed on a Monday. I'm lying. Could be Sunday late or Monday, but we found out about his passing Monday. From that moment, I think Tuesday going forward, I was already calling like my lecturer, because I was due to write an exam on the Saturday. I was calling my lecturer to make arrangements. In my mind, I was like, you know what? I'm okay. He's gone. I prayed. There was I don't want to say peace, but for now, for lack of a better word, I will say there was a peace, and there was just this push to say, like, he's gone. So there was just that immediate acceptance, right? And then thereafter, there was just this, depression mode whereby I was just like, how did I accept the passing of someone that I loved and held dearly to my heart so easily and so soon. And then now I was there was guilt there. The guilt then led me to being depressed because I was like, I don't understand how I accepted my dad's passing, and then the denial came later where I was deep in depression and then denying with you, is he really, really gone? Like, is he really, really gone? And why am I feeling this way? So for me, it was like the opposite of how it started for you, Hori. I just went into accepting, not knowing how. And then later on, I was just denying Guti. And I was not even denying, I was more than just denying that he's gone. I was denying that I accepted, which was the tricky part for me to come out of that state because I was like, I felt like I had betrayed him. I felt like it made me love him maybe less because I'm like, how did you accept so easily?
So after accepting those stages of grief, what would you say grief looked like to you then and now?
Then it was just crying, like constantly crying. Sometimes I wouldn't even know what I was crying for, but there would just be this pain. And I feel like I was more depressed than than I don't want to say grieving because it was another stage of my grief, the depression. But then what it looked like then, it was just constantly crying, just seeing no meaning to life, finding no meaning to life, and like having zero desires to live, but also this huge fear to die, So I would say that yes, I was suicidal at some point, but I was like, oh my goodness, I can't die. Like I'm scared to die. But then also at the same time, I had no interest to leaving. Right. And then at this moment, what grief looks like for me is some days I listen to my grandmother's favorite song. I used to share a room with my grandmother, right? And we would sleep on the same bed. And then now that she's passed on, I sleep on that side of the bed. So what grief looks like for me right now is some days I play her favorite song, facing up, and then I would just be bawling, like crying, saying nothing. And then some days I would be playing that very same song, but with so much love because I'm like, I'm so happy to have known her, so happy to have been loved by her, and I'm so happy to have loved her. So days differ. And then with my dad, there's just always this constant gratitude. So even when I'm grieving, I feel like grief doesn't always have to be like sad feelings. I don't know. Or maybe for me right now at this point, when I'm grieving my dad, there's just always feelings of gratitude and feelings of joy. And I feel like it has more to do with my relationship with God now, because I always say this a lot, that my relationship with my dad was just a blueprint of a relationship that I would then have with God. So whenever I miss my dad, I feel like I just have this deeper connection right now with God, whereby I'm like, he is my dad. So that grief, even if I'm sad, I'm so sad that I lost him, but then he's gone. And as I always say this, that we have a choice, to choose how. Sometimes you have to choose how to grieve someone because you are still alive, right? So you can't end up saying, Hori, you want to constantly live the rest of your life in sadness over something that'll never change. It's the unfortunate thing about death, Hori. It's final, it's ultimate. The person that has left you will never come back. So you have to choose, for the course of your life going forward, Hori, how do I choose to remember them? It's not always easy, but then it hurts that you always have to be intentional, Hori. This is how I choose to remember you. So grief for my dad, not that I'm enjoying it, but it feels lighter now. I can think about my dad and just be laughing. And there's moments where I'm like, I miss him and my heart is heavy, and I'll I'll give myself that grace to tap into those emotions and cry if I need to cry. But it's never with a heavy heart. It's just with a heart that acknowledges that he's gone, and it hurts that he's gone, but also to appreciate the life that I spent with him, because it doesn't take away the fact that I lived such a beautiful life with my dad. So I do not want the bad to suddenly outweigh the good that we've spent together, right? So I will, extend the same question to you.
Okay, so what grief looked like for me back then is I had suppressed emotions. I wasn't sure if it was okay for me to like grieve, cry. Like I said, it was more of the denial stage. So to me, it was like, should I be crying? No. Should I not? No. Yes. It was just like mixed things happening in my head of, is she really gone? How is life going to be after her and stuff like that? But where I am right now, I think I am in the acceptance stage of life where I have those moments where I'm just like, no, man, it's just as I said in the previous episode, it was that thing of, no man, actually updates. Now I can like smile over her memories rather than crying, wondering like what had happened. So now it's just a thing of, it was God's timing. As painful as it was back then, right now it's accepting, okay, she's gone. What then? Life right now, I am seeing the life at the end of the tunnel. It's no longer painful as it was back then, not understanding my emotions. I am able to cry right now and be like, no, she's gone, but it's tears of joy, you know, those memories when I look at some of the videos we have together. Hey, man, like we had those moments. We used to go together, we used to go out together to like shopping, the mini China markets that she used to love. So right now I would say that I'm actually in my acceptance stage and grief has looked a lot better than it was back then.
I love that you mentioned Hori. You are in the like in the stage whereby you've accepted, and I'll say that Hori. I feel like that's where I am right now with my dad's passing because I felt it, honey. I felt it. So I feel like feeling it allowed me to then be in this position where I've accepted, and I've accepted with grace, not over Hori kingadile. Oh, it is what it is. Yes, it is what it is. But then it's a thing of, hey man, rest well, rest
well.
in love, you know, rest in peace. And I've just loved how the past maybe year or two has looked like for me, trying to maneuver like grief and loss and all of that. But then now the tricky thing is that when it comes to the two passings that I've been dealt with, I feel like I haven't grieved well. And I fear what that will look like for me, because right now I just feel like I've suppressed a lot, especially with my mom. I feel like I do not have grounds to set my grief upon, because I'm like, hey, you were so young I was so young when she passed, and she was also young when she passed. So I'm like, hey, what feelings do I associate your grief with? Because I do not know the intense feeling of your love, if I may put it that way. I was too young to remember how loving her felt, because yes, I loved her. I loved my mom because she's my mom, and I knew her. I spent time with her, but right now I don't have the words to describe what it meant loving him as I would with my dad. So right now I'm like, and I don't know if it sounds cringe to say I look forward to grieving my mom, because I feel like I owe her that much, but also more than that, I owe myself that much to say I know, I'm fully aware that I haven't grieved her, because hey son, I do not know what am I grieving when I feel like I didn't have enough of her, you know, and I'm just like, what does that say about me, or what does that say about my mental state? However, right now I'm like, I'm good, I'm okay, I'm not complaining, but I'm just like, what will trigger me to a position where now I'm grieving my mom, and I'm just like, I can't deal with loss. Like, one thing about me,
You can't.
Sana, I
I
go down, like down bad when I have to face death, and I fear that the next, and it could be the loss of something, not just someone that will trigger, you know, that the loss of my mom and the pain, and then will transition me into grief. But my fear right now is I do not know what that will look like, and I'm just like, I'm looking forward to it because I want to get over it. Like I don't want to look forward to it with fear as I am right now. So I'm looking forward to get there so that I live in it and then go through like and just continue with life.
And when you speak about the planning of the different funerals, now, would you say that you were ever pressured into being strong? Being strong in a case where you couldn't really like be in the moment, and you just had to plan the funeral, like be there for everyone, but never there for yourself.
Having to be strong. That's, you see, if you know me, you'll know that one word that I don't like people to describe me by is strong. Because when people say you're strong, there's just this expectation whereby there's a certain way that people expect you to react. You know, when things are hard, because you're a strong person, you have to show up as a strong person, and that ultimately means, Hori, you're suppressing something. You know, you're suppressing some feelings. So with both my dad and my grandmother, right now, I am glad that I got to be fully involved in the planning of their funerals, like fully hands on involved. You know, with my dad's passing, I was running like moving all over the place with like his niece. You know, planning the funeral. I was there. I was present all the way. You know, I at the time it was such a knock in my heart because it was heavy, it really was heavy. And I couldn't communicate that with anyone. There was just an expectation that I would be there. And, maybe they would just believe Hori, she's old enough now, she can take it. But I was not old enough and I was not taking it well.
Get
But
the
there was no
guidance.
safe space for me to be able to communicate that. And then with my grandmother, Sana, the strong that I had to wear was the strong that I never want to wear because I even had to be the one who was bathing my grandmother. And it was a thing of, Nane, the thing is with me, things could be hard, ne? I'll be like, okay, this is hard, and then I'll do what has to be done. And then it's like I tap into autopilot and then do what needs to be done and then go back into my emotions.
Deal
So
with
that's
it
what
later.
happened. Yes, that's what happened whereby my aunts and my grandmothers were like, it's just too heavy. And I was just like, it's too heavy, valid, but it has to be done. And then I stepped in and then I did that. I played a role that I feel like I didn't need to play at the time. But then right now I appreciate that I was able to do that. At the time it hurt me. At the time it felt so unfair. At the time it felt like I was so undeserving to be the one doing all of this, all of those things. But right now I'm like, I'm glad that although it's a last image of my grandmother, but I'm like, it was the last show of my love, considering that me and her like were not vocal about, I love you, and it was my last show of, my love to her. And even though she was not alive to witness it, but from me to me, I knew that, I did this for her. And then going forward, then I had to be strong in the sense that now when I was feeling it, when I was tapping into, accepting the loss, everybody had moved on. And I couldn't drag and push and pull everyone back to being like, hey, remember, I lost a grandmother, I lost a dad. I didn't have the time to feel this. I didn't have the time to go through these emotions. So now I couldn't do that because people had moved on, right? But also it would be selfish of me to allow some people to feel what I'm feeling at the time that I'm feeling, because when it immediately happened, I felt what I was feeling. No one knew about it. So also when I realized, Hori, I hate being considered as strong. I remember after my father's funeral, on people's statuses, people are just like, you're so strong, you're so strong, you're so strong. And that what rocked me the hardest, because I'm like, I don't want to be strong right now. I don't feel strong right now. And I have no reason to be strong right now. But now I've presented myself as the strong person and there was no going back. I had to keep that facade until like years later where I was just like, whoa. And it wasn't like a choice that I made. I feel like now I was just crashing out. Hori, yay. I've played strong for too long that I played out the character, and then now I was forced into my natural self where I was feeling, but too bad that acceptance of it came with a lot of depression. And then I'm just like, now I'm like, I don't want to be strong. I'm not strong. Ki weak, blind. Like I'm not like, I really hate it when someone says I'm strong, because Sana, it's so selfish to allow me to be strong in situations that require my weakness. But then also I feel like our definition of strong is so one-sided. You're strong when you don't express your emotions. You are strong when certain things don't hit you. You are strong when you deal with situations better. But we fail to recognize that there is strength in acknowledging, Hori, this is my moment of weakness, or this is my area of weakness. We are strong when we tap into our emotions to say, this is hurting me. My heart is broken. I feel like crying, and allow yourself to cry. You are strong for being in contact and in connection with your emotions. So we are very weak by always wanting to be on autopilot, because that is not strength. And for you, like how much involved were you in your grandmother's, like the preparations?
So with the preparations, it was a bit tricky because I was in grade 11. So my gran used to stay in another province, which was Northwest, and we used to be in Joburg. And so my mom had to like drive back that night to Northwest. So with regards to the preparations, I was doing some things on our side, some things on her side. So I remember with the whole funeral arrangement thing, she had to find the ID numbers, call the funeral parlor and stuff like that. And my responsibilities this side, while she was that side, was having to like collect the scones, making sure that I make payment, because we had this one supplier in Joburg that used to bake the scones. So I had to like fetch the packets. But then it was a thing of I couldn't go down that weekend because the Monday I'm writing and I had no one to bring me back this side. Like I've said, it's always been me and my mom. So all the other family members were towards Northwest and your Free State side. So it was like this side, I'm alone. My mom is on the other end. So to me, it was having to be strong, having to see what I'm going to do on the daily days when she's not around. So with the preparations, it was a bit tricky because when she got that side, my mom is scared of death. She is scared of death. It's the thing of when she had to go view the body. I remember she went with my aunt and my one uncle. And it was the thing of she stayed in the car. She was like, she just cannot. That's how scared she is of death. So I remember when she was telling me the whole story that they went to go view the body, they said that she's bent beyond and they had to like wrap her up with cloths and stuff like that. My mom did not go. So to me, it had that wonder feeling of who's going to bath her, who's going to clothe her. Like it was like, yo, because this is our first close like death experience. So it became a thing of now I'm more worried about my mom. I can't grieve because it's like, will my mom be okay? Like I know that my mom was vugalala with her. Like if Barry she's sick, she'd like just go driving in the middle of the night all the way to Northeast. So for me with the funeral arrangements, I wouldn't say I was part of it full force, but it was the behind the scenes. Because I even remember at her funeral, like everyone had speeches to say, but I just didn't have the courage to be like, I want to be on the obituary to like say my last words and stuff like that. I remember when the coffin even came through, the first thing my mom did was like, she just went into reverse crying. And now it's that thing of, I felt like the whole family members are just expecting for us to be strong. Like, so to me, it was that pain of, where do I fall under? I need to make sure the coffin comes inside, but then there's certain rules of the way she passed on. She cannot be brought straight into the yard. I think it's like a matter of jumping her over the fence. So we're not cultural like that. And now her burial is now and they know culture better. So that grieving preparation and stuff like that was a bit, 50-50, but in the end, I feel like everything did work out for good, as painful as it was. Hence, I say that I had the denial more than the acceptance stage, because it was, is my mom fine? Like, is she really gone? The dreams, it's like, am I deja vuing? Like, so it was a bit tricky, but in terms of preparations, I'd say it was 50-50. I could do what I could do, but then I was also regarded as young a bit. So I wouldn't say I was fully into the preparations, but I was there.
You know what I'm picking up right now? You're saying that your mom lived. So during that week, you were alone.
I was
and
alone.
You had to process your grandmother's passing. Were you speaking with your mom?
We were talking over WhatsApp, but it was a thing of network. So, network where we from Vele. So it was just WhatsApp here and there, but then also doing this thing knowing that I want to go to matric. So, and I remember within the time I was writing business the week that was coming after her death. So I really loved business, and I was like, I can't sleep on myself. My marks were good throughout the year, and I was like, look, grief, I'll process after all the results come and stuff like that. But then it's like everything's happening within the same period. So it was more on the what then, like we'll cross the bridge when we get there.
And then do you now think, Hori, the fact that you were alone in Joburg and like the rest of the family was in Northwest, do you think that might have also influenced how you first went into the denial stage and then acceptance after? Do you feel like maybe if you were there during like the whole preparations, it could have easily ushered you into accepting Horia, really she's gone? Because now you were in Joburg, you were not seeing, how like Magnus Sifo, pity, like you can tell Hori, there's a funeral. Do you think that maybe you being in Northwest could have maybe helped you with accepting a lot quicker than you did? Or you feel like maybe it could have happened the same way, Hori, you were in denial first?
I feel like how it happened, I'm grateful for that, because I don't think I would have dealt with it in a better way if I was there close range. It would have been like the traumas of, because I know for a fact now, when the passing happened, like the few days, people were like very scared to come because her room was specifically like burnt. They had to like scrap the walls at some point because we couldn't really paint. There was no time for painting and all that. It was things need to move to one room. Like how it is with funerals, you remove everything and stuff like that. So there it was, we're dealing with the half burnt house, and the part that's burnt is the parts that are going to be needed for the funeral. Like how they say the box needs to go to the person's room and stuff like that. We had to end the box school launch, and it was more painful because like the box would come on the Friday evening. We couldn't have it come on the Friday evening because of things like COVID. So it was like, hey, how it happened was fine. I'm grateful for how it happened. I feel like I wouldn't say at peace, but in this regard, I'd say I was at peace with how it happened. So,
Okay, that's lovely. Because in my mind, I'm like, girl,
kill.
you
Like,
went
I
through
think
the most
that was
alone.
the one instance that taught me how to be strong. Like, qina isibindi, because
choice.
imagine having to wake up the next day knowing, because I think we had that rotation of in high school, there's 1 week it's this grade, the next week it's that grade. Some days they separate, hore, the grade 10s and 11s are coming in today, 12s and 9s are coming in. So to me, it was that thing of my friends were my distraction. They were my greatest support system. So I'm more than grateful for how everything planned out.
That's nice, man. That's nice. Thank you so much for your vulnerability.
It's always a pleasure.
And I'm so sorry that you had to go through that alone. Even though you're saying, Hore, you're grateful it happened that way, I wouldn't wish for you to be like experiencing or going through someone you loved like alone, like someone's passing alone. And the fact that you did that and, what you took out of it is something good and something positive, it really makes you like a diamond, Miss Kat. Like, I'm really
you.
so happy that you made it out of that process of grief and, going through her loss and maneuvering how life is without her, having heard her as the closest part of your life as well. The fact that you're here and you're smiling and you speak
Every
about
day.
it and you speak about her with love and like grace, it really means her like it probably helped. Like it worked out for the best that you were not there because we do not know what would have happened had you been there. So yeah, I think maybe like just to not extend and prolong this episode, maybe that's where we'll cut it, and along our conversations that we'll have, if we feel like this is a conversation we want to revisit, we'll do so in due time. But for now, I think maybe this is where we should pack it and call it a night, my sister. Don't forget to, do you have anything you want to say?
I think my final words would be, what, there is light at the end of the tunnel. When I look at the version of myself today, I'm grateful that I didn't lose a part of myself. My character from before her death and after her death has just brought me to being the same person in the end. I didn't let pain change me, but instead I ended up embracing and, reliving the greatest memories from what had happened. So my final words is there is light at the end of the tunnel. Like, just be patient with yourself, Shem.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Those are lovely words.
Thank you, girl.
A wise lady from the set. There's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
And we'll take that and run with it. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Hope you did enjoy. Don't forget to like, to comment, and to subscribe. But for myself, Mpho the next big thing. It's good night.